Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 13th of August 2021, just a day before our Independence Day. Today, these are the stories that we'll be discussing. The first will be, of course, the revelation that has been made by our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab as far as the investigation into the Dassu incident is concerned that happened in July 14th this year, in which 9 Chinese nationals and 2 personnel of the Frontier Constabulary were killed and 28 others sustained injuries. That there is a nexus of international agencies behind it. Of course, this is he was referring to the nexus of India, and he gave details about this, and he gave a whole media briefing about what went behind the Dassu incident and what were the investigations that took place. This is going to be our leading segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about the latest Afghan situation as far as our neighboring countries concerned, whether it be the United States that has told its citizens to leave the country, whether it is the Britishers, the United Kingdom that is sending its troops to take out all the remaining British nationals that are there. Also, Washington that is pressing Islamabad to use its influence, and Taliban that have taken over more or less a lot of different areas of Afghanistan, whether it be Kandahar, Lashkar-Gah or Herat, that have now fallen to the Taliban. And as per different reports, within a period of 90 days, they might take over Kabul as well. And then we will be talking about COVID-19, ladies and gentlemen, the latest situation as far as the 4th wave of COVID-19 is concerned, and also the different vaccinations that are being given across the country to different segments of the society, of the populace. Pakistan has administered 40 million COVID-19 doses so far, and also has seen more cases on the rise, 4,619 new cases that have erupted across the country. And then finally, we'll be talking about a certain order as far as Sindh is concerned. We'll be talking about with reference to a certain boy. His name is Gul Bahar, and he's from Makli in Thatta, and how this boy was in a despicable state of health, and how some people helped him out to take him from there into Karachi as far as his deteriorating health situation is concerned. We'll begin with our first story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the investigation into the Dassu incident that happened, in which 9 Chinese nationals and 2 Frontier Constabulary officers were killed and 28 sustained injuries. The latest investigation into this incident reports and reveals a nexus of intelligence agencies from different countries that are behind it, and that was revealed by our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. More in the following report.
Indian actions have once again established that it plays role of spoiler in the region, fomenting instability and lending support to terrorist propensities in rival countries. While exposing nefarious Indian designs against Pakistan, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi unraveled Indian raw and Afghan NDS nexus to sabotage Pakistan-China collaboration by attacking a bus carrying Chinese engineers. On July 14th, at least 13 people, 9 Chinese nationals and 4 Pakistanis were killed, and around 2 dozen others suffered injuries when a shuttle bus they were traveling in plunged into a deep ravine after an explosion on board. Since the bus was carrying the Chinese and Pakistani workers to an under construction tunnel site of Dassu hydropower project in the remote Kohistan district of KPK, the malicious attempt was designed to hamper Pakistan-China economic cooperation. The Indian propaganda machine has never stopped to accuse Pakistan of exporting terrorism, but its own actions proved by empirical evidence expose its duplicacious rhetoric. It is cogent to mention here that the arrest of Kulbhushan Yadav carrying out espionage and sabotage activities against Pakistan at the behest of India's intelligence agency was stark reminder that New Delhi is abetting terrorism to halt ambitious multi-billion-dollar CPAC. These desperate Afghan-Indian designs are crystallizing at the time when colossal Indian investments in Afghanistan to destabilize Pakistan submerged as Taliban captured major provincial capitals with lightning speed.
Now, to talk more about this issue, we've been joined by Hamid Khan al-Mushriki. He's a leading analyst. Hamid Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Hamid Saab, does that come to you as a surprise, the NDS raw nexus behind what has happened in Dassu?
Thank you very much, Umar. No, it is absolutely not surprise, but as we have seen, I mean, either we have seen the report of EU Disinfo Lab that Indian, Nexus is working for the last 15, 20 years continuously uninterruptedly, non-stop against Pakistan's state, and doing all the possible efforts to have terrorism in Pakistan, and they are doing terrorism, and they are trying their best to effect and demolish the CPAC and Pakistan-China friendship by doing the terrorist acts like this. I mean, this Dassu incident is again, I mean, a classic example, and world needs to understand that this is India who's doing a state-sponsored terrorism in the region. And now this is the time when there should be sanctions on India, because Pakistan is continuously, openly giving evidences of Indian involvement, whether it is the Lahore bomb blast, whether it is incidents in Peshawar, whether this latest Dassu attack, whether there is a incidents in Balochistan, in Quetta. So Pakistan has given enough evidence to the world that this is, unacceptable for Pakistan, and it is going to create a big problem in the region, and it could lead to anything. Yes, it could lead to any. There is a limit where Pakistan will tolerate it. Pakistan has to respond it that why India is doing this supported terrorism and using Afghanistan soil against Pakistan is again evident, is again proved. And this is what Pakistan is saying, that, that's why India is crying over what is happening in Afghanistan, and India wanted to take a role in peace process and everything, because India is the one who's feeling that they are losing out their billions of dollar investment in Afghanistan to destabilize Pakistan. This was their motive behind it, to destabilize Pakistan.
Let's talk
And
about this destabilization of Pakistan, Hamid Sahib. Let's talk about the different things, starting from Kulbhushan Yadav, starting from Balochistan, the social media campaigns against Pakistan, the different NGOs that were created against Pakistan to put Pakistan in a bad light,
Exactly.
FATF and Indian involvement in order to put Pakistan
Exactly.
in the grey list, and so on and so forth. The dossiers that Pakistan has given to the international communities as far as India's involvement directly and indirectly through Afghanistan is concerned into Pakistan, and then the
Exactly.
different social media campaigns that have erupted, the hashtags that were also revealed by our ministers very recently. I mean, so many evidence as far as the different
Exactly.
various activities of India into Pakistan, and of course the latest is the Dassu hydropower incident, in which our Chinese brethren also lost their lives along with our Pakistani brethren. I mean, why? I mean, I would really like to again say, why is nobody taking any action? I'm talking of the international organizations, I'm talking of FATF, I'm talking of United Nations, I'm talking of United States, I'm talking of the European Union. No response.
Absolutely right. I mean, Umar, it is a very clear case now that India's involvement is everywhere. Everybody have seen the evidence. But unfortunately, neither International Court of Justice is taking any action, neither there is no action from FATF. Rather, falsely, they have keeping Pakistan in grey list, while there is no justification for that keeping Pakistan in FATF is justified. But on the other hand, when they look into terror financing, terror supporting from India, India is the one who should be in the blacklist in
Exactly.
FATF, rather
And not since
anywhere
now, since
else.
a long time.
Exactly. On top of it, if you look into it, that what India did in United Nations Security Council, that for a month they are presiding this Security Council session, and within that month, India has shown their biasness, their partiality, and their enmity towards Pakistan. They did not let Pakistan contribute towards that session, which was very important in terms of Afghanistan's issue. And Pakistan is the biggest stakeholder after Afghanistan in the region for the matter of Afghanistan. And this is where India has misused its power. So I believe that this is the time when not only Pakistan, rather Muslim countries has to come forward. Our brother Muslim countries has to come forward. China is already, playing a vital role to expose India, but there is much more needs to be done by China. Much more needs to be done our brother Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia, like UAE, who has influence over India, that India needs to bring to the justice what they have done. I mean, you gave the right example, that whether it was the matter of example of Kulbhushan Yadav, whether it is the other examples, that India's involvement is
I mean, and
everywhere.
recently all the
clear.
hashtags against Pakistan,
Yes.
anti-Pakistan hashtags that have been
Exactly.
revealed by our ministers.
I mean, India is using social media using fake Pakistani IDs, using fake Balochi names, using fake, IP addresses. Would you believe it that they are using every possible technology to malign Pakistan? And this is, I mean, I would appreciate Pakistan's, cyber securities and Pakistan's cyber investigation units, where they have openly told the world that who's the source behind these false, hashtags against Pakistan. So this is again a success of Pakistan, which needs to be highlighted in international media, which needs to be highlighted to tell to the world that this is what Pakistan is has investigated, has all the evidences. I mean, I will give you only one example, that when they start doing something to do with Balochistan or anything, straight away any person who has little bit knowledge of Pakistan would know from the language that this is not written by our Balochi brother. This is
Of
written
course.
by somebody who's sitting in Delhi, who's sitting in Bombay, who's sitting in Calcutta, because their language, their way of talking, their everything is so clear. And I mean, would you believe it? They are bringing the persons on the media, claiming them to be from Pakistan while they are not even Pakistanis. I mean, this is so much dangerous, and there is a limit where Pakistan will take it. Otherwise, Pakistan has to react it. And now this is the time when world organizations, human rights organization has to come into
Exactly.
what they
I
are
mean,
doing with
the human
humanity.
rights organizations are taking out reports, but reports and statements are just merely words. This needs to be translated into action. Let's come to the Dassu hydropower incident. Now, the main perpetrator behind it, who is Khalid alias Sheikh, the suicide bomber, he's not even a Pakistani national.
Yes.
And of course,
Yes.
Afghanistan is being, will be, I mean, the whole details will be given to Afghanistan so as to ascertain whether the person was an Afghan national or not as well. Let's talk also about the NDS, and their involvement
Yes.
along with RAW. Why don't the Afghans understand that Pakistan really wants things in their favor, and that India is, utilizing them to its own favor?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is, this puppet, I have to say, this puppet government of Ashraf Ghani is, doing everything possible to stay in power. And India is not only utilizing them, India is exploiting them. And NDS is being part of has become a tool of RAW when it comes to things against Pakistan. And this is very unfortunate that NDS is not even realizing that India is not friend of anyone. How the RAW will be friends to India? Eventually, they will be paying the price being with Indian RAW, working with Indian RAW. NDS needs to understand that as soon as possible. Otherwise, they will eventually NDS forces people will die. Afghani people will die. Our brother Afghanis will die. We are just concerned about the peace in Afghanistan, and that's why Pakistan is again and again not only letting the Afghanistan know, letting the world know that this is what's happening. That Afghanistan NDS is being used by India to sabotage peace in Pakistan, and this is Pakistan's national interest, that we cannot compromise in peace in the country, and we will do anything for to save our friendship with China. And I mean, I must appreciate Chinese government, Chinese foreign minister, that they even strengthen our friendship after this incident, because they know that which elements are behind this all incident, who is behind, who is the enemy. NDS is being is gonna pay the price for it. I mean, Umar, this is we are talking about RAW. We are talking about Indian, RSS Hindutva ideology. They can never be sincere with even Afghanis, and this is what Pakistan media, Pakistan, public, and needs to understand and needs to explain to the Afghani brothers, that do not fall into the trap of Indian enemies. This is the trap by Indian RAW to make them feel that they are friends of Afghanistan. No, they are not. They are the worst enemy, because they are the one who wants turmoil in Afghanistan. They are the one who wants civil war in Afghanistan. India is the one who does not want the peace in Afghanistan. That's why India, because otherwise, Pakistan has done so much efforts to bring the peace in Afghanistan, while whether it was Doha, dialogues, whether it was Kabul dialogues or Islamabad dialogues, but due to unseen factors, these dialogues could not be successful the way it should have been. And
Hmm.
again, Afghan public are misguided. Afghan public needs to understand that even, I mean, I'm talking about Islamically. Quran says, Allah says that these people, these Hindus cannot be friends of yours. How
Hmm.
Afghanis even can trust on Hindus? How on this RSS ideology?
Well, to be
I
very
mean,
frank,
this
Hamid Saab, let's put it this way. Only time will tell now that a lot of changes are happening in Afghanistan
exactly.
at a very rapid pace. Let's see what the future holds as far
Yeah.
as the future of Afghan Indian alliance is concerned. But as far as Pakistani intelligence agencies are concerned, our government is concerned, our forces are concerned, we are ready to thwart any such attempts,
Yes.
past, present, and future, by any such agency that wants to destabilize our country. Thank you very much, Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi
My
Sahab, to have
pleasure.
joined us on this
My
very
pleasure.
important subject. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the latest as far as Afghanistan is concerned. The Afghan Taliban have taken over Lashkargah, Herat, and Kandahar. A lot of other developments are also occurring. That is, the United States has asked its citizens to leave Afghanistan at the earliest, and this is the second such statement that has come from the US for its citizens. And the British troops are also going inside of Afghanistan to take out all of their citizens. So many developments happening. We'll be talking about that after this short report on the subject.
The botched US withdrawal from Afghanistan has left the country in debilitating chaos, inducing drastic ripple effects for the security of region. Taliban's lightning advance culminated in fall of Afghanistan's second largest city, Kandahar, in what is a crushing blow for the government and a colossal prize for the militants. The southern city was once the Taliban stronghold and is strategically important as a trade hub. As per media reports, the group has now captured 12 of Afghanistan's 34 provincial capitals weeks after US ended its longest war in history. According to United Nations statistics, more than 1,000 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan in the past month. The colossal American investment of approximately $89 billion in last 20 years being spent upon training and equipment of Afghan security forces is seemingly producing no dividends against the backdrop of Afghan security forces' meltdown and capitulation. Western embassies and aid agencies began evacuating civilian staff from Afghanistan against the backdrop of unprecedented Taliban advance towards capital Kabul. As Afghanistan descends into chaos, a simmering humanitarian quandary presents another taxing challenge for international community because there is barely enough aid to assist tens of thousands displaced masses. While sensing the urgency of situation, the Troika Plus, comprising Pakistan, the US, Russia and China, has jointly pressed the Afghan government and the Taliban to submit their respective roadmaps within 10 days for the future of war-ravaged country. Pakistan has incessantly played its part with sincerity and honesty to instigate inclusive political settlement in Afghanistan, as civil in the country represents worst-case scenario for Islamabad and region.
To discuss more on this topic, we've been joined by Qamar Cheema Sahab. He's a fond of his expert. Qamar Cheema Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us and welcome to our show. Qamar Cheema Sahab, developments are occurring at a very rapid pace as far as Afghanistan is concerned, and the way the Afghan Taliban are taking over one Afghan city, one province after the other. How long before they reach Kabul, in your point of view?
Well, obviously, I think nobody was expecting that that is going to be the pace of the Taliban in winning over the territorial success the Taliban which are having. So out of 34 provinces, 15 provincial capitals, the Taliban control. So even the American intelligence and the many other intelligence, they believe that it's just a matter of a couple of months or a month that the Taliban will take over. And by the way, the Taliban control all the international borders right now. There are a couple of crossings which are left, like Torkham, where the Afghan government has a control. Otherwise, every border the Taliban which controls. So the Afghan government in Kabul does not have control over its international border. More than 400,000 people are displaced IDPs, of which 59% are children. So we believe that this massive civil war, which I don't believe is going to be a civil war, because the Afghan people are not willing to fight with the Taliban,
But
and
the
that is why.
Britishers are very skeptical. They say that there might be, they say it's probable that there is going to be a civil war. With the international community being very wary of the future in Afghanistan, how is it going to play out?
Well, I don't believe that the civil war will be that people will die on the streets of Afghanistan, because what we have seen recently, either the Afghan forces they flee, they leave, they enter Pakistan, they go to Tajikistan, or the way Taliban are, this is just a matter of starting from 1st May till this is 12th or 13th August, we are seeing that majority of the territorial success which Taliban had is in all these 3 months. So it seems that the Afghan government, the Afghan military is not fighting. They don't have equipment. There is no motivation. There is a lot of corruption. So what we believe is that in coming in 1 month or so, the Taliban will take over because Afghan people don't want to fight. Although the British are saying there is a probability of civil war, but so far, looking at the casualties and the fight we have seen between the Taliban, Afghan forces, and the general masses is not much visible and is not in the picture.
All right. Now, of course, speaking of the Britishers, they have sent troops to evacuate the majority of their citizens and their embassy staff as well. So has the US, which has told its citizens to leave Afghanistan at the earliest. India has closed its last consulate and has evacuated its personnel from there as well. What is going to be the future as far as Afghanistan is concerned? Because you also talked about the displaced people, the hundreds of thousands that are being displaced as we speak. Do you feel that kind of a stability will come in Afghanistan in a couple of weeks' time, or do you feel there's going to be a mayhem-like situation for at least a couple of months?
Well, but Sahib, I think if 400,000 people are displaced, out of the 38 million population of Afghanistan, around 19 million population is facing serious humanitarian crisis, while the children are being malnourished if they are not getting food right now. So the international community, they need to pay attention what's going on. Forget what's happening as far as the fight between the Taliban or the Afghan government is concerned. What matters is a humanitarian crisis. So be it India, be it the global powers, they need to give an attention towards the humanitarian crisis, and Afghanistan must not turn into another Yemen. So what we are seeing right now is that there will be a massive influx of refugees, or people can come on Pak-Afghan border. And the recent circumstances which just erupted yesterday at the Chaman border, where the Pakistani security agencies, they had to take care of some of the Afghans because they were not behaving as per the law. So right now there is a challenge for us, but there is a challenge for the global community, because the Afghan situation is not going to be that who is in Kabul or who will win. This is going to be a humanitarian.
All right, now you talked about the skirmishes that happened very recently in Chaman. Now let's talk about the trickling effect of what is happening in Afghanistan into Pakistan. What is the probability of that?
Well, I think first of all, Pakistan must stay in touch and in close connection with the UNHCR, because what we feel is that as we have seen, the US State Department recently gave a statement that the bordering countries of Afghanistan, they should take care of the refugees. But looking at our position, we have to look into that very carefully. And for that matter, Bhatt Sahib, we need a political consensus in Pakistan. I have not heard, or I have not seen that only with just one sitting at in the parliament where the security establishment gave a briefing to the politicians. There needs to be more serious discussion on Afghanistan by the political quarters in Pakistan, because whatever situation is going to erupt, that will affect Pakistan. We have a 26-kilometer long border, although we have installed the wire there, but yet looking at the relations the Pakistanis and Afghans have, the way we have hosted them in the past, I think there must be a consensus in Pakistan. We cannot host more refugees. Our economy is not in a position. We have serious societal concerns. We cannot let that more challenges to come for Pakistan from the Afghanistan side.
All right, now you talked about the Afghan migrants. We have millions of them here, unaccounted for and accounted for as well. Now, the US also some time back, if you remember and recall, they had asked Pakistan to let in the migrants if the situation arises as such. Do you feel, what should be the reaction of Pakistan in that case?
I think Pakistan's reaction should be where we should immediately involve United Nations. We should immediately involve the donors who can give money for the humanitarian assistance, and immediately Pakistan should install or establish a small corridor on Pak-Afghan border where those refugees who come from Afghanistan, they cannot cross the Pak-Afghan border. and they cannot enter into the Pakistani territory, and they must remain in that territory or in those refugee camps, so that whenever situation gets better, things get better, they can return back. And at the end of the day, we should not let anyone to come in. And remember, in the last 10-15 years, because of the wars in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Middle East, we have seen the way the refugee influx in the international, in the entire globe, have weakened the countries. Even the European powers, who are much economically strong, they had to face such kind of humanitarian crisis, and our economy can't bear that. So we need to involve the donors, Americans, and the international community, and particularly United Nations, for giving assistance to the Afghan humanitarian, to Afghan people
All
who
right.
come to the Afghan border.
And finally, what about the different Afghan leaders that are present apart from the Afghan Taliban? We've heard that Muhammad Ismail Khan, who's a veteran militia commander who's known as the Lion of Herat, has also been captured by the Afghan Taliban. How do you feel, what is your opinion of how the Afghan Taliban will deal with other such commanders of different factions that are present in Afghanistan? Will there be a national government in the future, or do you feel that it's the Afghan Taliban that are going to command Afghanistan?
Well, I think obviously it depends that what would be the future, looking at that, whether the Afghan army can fight or not, whether they can protect Kabul or not, whether they can protect the legitimate government of Ashraf Ghani or not. That is going to be the position which is very important. And above all, if there is a siege of Kabul, and the Kabul does not have a connection anywhere in the world, obviously, and even in their own country, obviously, the Ashraf Ghani will lose that legitimacy. So at the end of the day, I think Taliban are not going to go for the massacre, or they are not going to kill people.
All
What
right,
they're going
quick last question, before we leave. Before we leave you, the Afghan government negotiators have offered the Taliban a power sharing deal in return to end their fighting. At the same time, there's also the talks that are going on there as well, and the extended troika that also met in Doha. What do you make of all that? Do you feel there's going to be some kind of a reaction, a positive reaction coming from the Afghan Taliban as a result of that? Quick answer.
Well, I think that is too little, too late, and Taliban are not in a position to listen such kind of a thing when they're seeing that there is a obvious success. The success is there, and why they will have to listen to the Afghan government, or which even cannot protect itself, and which is falling very quickly and easily. So I think the only thing which is important, that if the UN Security Council and the global powers, how they treat Taliban, whether they immediately recognize Taliban, or they give a de jure recognition to the Taliban, that is important. And what will be the future makeup, whether there will be elections, there will be unity government. I think there are so many questions which are to be answered, which can only be answered when there is a peace, and when there is a calm at one moment, and all stakeholders sit together. There is a probability Taliban will take over entire Afghanistan, and they will establish a central government there.
Thank you very much, Qamar Cheema Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about what is happening in Afghanistan as of late, and of course the repercussions that could engulf the region, as well as far as the different trickling about what is happening in Afghanistan as of late. But as far as the Afghan Taliban are concerned, they are taking one city after the other, one province after the other, at a very rapid pace. Our next topic, ladies and gentlemen, is about COVID-19, the vaccination drive in Pakistan, and 40 million doses that have been given in the country as of late. Apart from that, the vaccination drive continues, and the different forms of vaccines are available, whether it be Moderna, Pfizer, Sinopharm, Sinovac, and of course the people are coming in lines in droves to have themselves vaccinated. But at the same time, there's also that part of the community that does not want to follow the SOPs, that feels that this is all a hoax of some sort. But we've also seen how the Delta and Delta Plus variants are wreaking havoc across the country or across the world, and it is pertinent to understand what is happening across the world because of this pandemic, because of this virus and its mutations. And it's not just the last mutation that is going to happen, the Delta or the Delta Plus. There are so many other different mutations that will be happening. The international media, of course, magazines have been talking about all of this, about how it is going to go out of control if people do not get themselves vaccinated and do not continue to follow the standard operating procedures. These are very simple things to follow. You know, I've been talking about that for I don't know how many times in our shows. Wash your hands with soap, keep a safe distance, wear your mask in crowded places, and avoid crowded places of all things. So this is the main thing that you need to do, and also get yourselves vaccinated. All you need to do is just send a text message and you will get a response. Get yourself the first dose and the second dose, and in some cases only one dose, but nevertheless get yourselves vaccinated. And finally, we'll be talking about Sindh and what is happening to certain communities in Sindh, especially in Thatta. We'll be talking with reference to the plight of a boy whose name is Gul Bahar. He is a resident of Makli in Thatta, and it was due to the help and the aid of doctors from the community that helped this little boy who used to beg for money, and in fact in the vicinity of big houses, as the tweets or the series of tweets says. And it is because of the indulgence and the interference of these genuine people, the sincere people, that this boy not only got to have his treatment, and he will be having a surgery done, because they say that his leg might be amputated. And so of course he was taken to Karachi, and the whole series of tweets talks about the incompetencies of the medical situation as far as the Sindh province is concerned. And finally in Karachi they managed to get some kind of help for this boy, that is Gul Bahar. For all the Gul Bahars, it is important that all of our society and our medical personnel and our government and our private sector get together and help those in need. That is how we bring a strong nation. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. Tomorrow is the 14th of August. We'll be coming with a special for that at 5 with Newsroom. Till then, take care of yourselves, and in advance, Happy Independence Day, Pakistan. Allah Hafiz.